Hey guys, I'm Angela from The Girl with the Shovel, and welcome to another awesome plant care video. Today we are talking about fiddle leaf figs. So here I've got my fiddle leaf fig, and I have honestly tested him about everywhere. I've moved him a couple of times, I've seen what happens. I've had him in some low light, I've had him in some brighter light. I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened, what I found that my fiddle leaf fig liked, what it didn't like, and kind of some of the things that it was telling me when it wasn't really liking where it was at. So first, let's go on to light requirements. For light requirements, I have found that the fiddle leaf fig does not do well in low light. Okay, it started dropping leaves, it started showing signs of overwatering, it did not like low light. So for fiddle leaf figs, it's best if you give it a lot of bright, indirect light. I know it can also handle some direct sunlight even, but just make sure you don't move it from a lower light spot right into direct sunlight right away. Give it some time to acclimate so that it doesn't have a bit of leaf scorch. You don't want to scorch the leaves from moving it too fast from low light into very bright direct sunlight. But if you don't have that, just give it as much bright indirect light as you possibly can, and this guy will grow fabulously for you. So as far as watering goes, we need to make sure that our fiddle leaf fig gets to dry out in between watering. That's kind of like every ficus needs to dry out in between watering. So don't let it dry out too much, like go for like weeks without, with the soil being dry. Make sure that once it's fully dry, then you give it more water. But if it still has some moisture in it, don't water it yet. Make sure that it dries out. I know I was using this app that was telling me when to water, and I was testing it out, and it actually overwatered this plant a little bit because it wasn't fully dry when it told me to water it again. So make sure that you're paying attention to that. Use a soil moisture meter if you aren't sure, because I know that these come in really big pots a lot of times for bigger fiddle leaf figs. And so it's hard to tell in the bottom if there's actually moisture or not. So use a soil moisture meter and make sure that you have good drainage too, so that that water isn't trapped in the bottom of your pot. But if you do all those, let it dry out in between watering, then your fiddle leaf fig should be happy. Next we have soil. Fiddle leaf figs can actually do well in pretty normal, typical soil. But the one thing you have to watch for is overwatering once again. So make sure that your soil can hold some moisture, but not too much. So that can sometimes be a problem of your soil having too much organic matter, like too much peat or too much coconut coir that's just holding in that water. You need to add maybe some sand, some perlite, make sure that it's draining well. Okay, but then also that could be your pot isn't draining well enough. So make sure that you have good drainage with these guys. I like to water, I have this in another pot. Here, let me pull this up. So I have this inside of my basket here. So then I can take this out whenever I need. I can put water in it. I can let it go drain out. This soil actually has a bit of bark in it, so it's definitely well draining. And then I let it drain and then put it back in the pot. Easy, right? Right? So as long as your soil drains well and doesn't hold on to too much water, then you'll be fine with soil. Next is fertilizer. Fertilizer for your fiddle leaf fig can be important, especially if it's starting to get too big that you're not able to repot it a lot. I know when it's small, it's easy to pot up every year or two. But when it starts getting bigger especially, you'll need to supplement that those nutrients with fertilizer. Okay, so I've heard that the best fertilizer is one that's a little bit higher in nitrogen, because that nitrogen helps with the leaf growth, and these have really big leaves. And so if you give it a good, slightly higher nitrogen fertilizer, like a lot of people on the internet say like a 3-1-2, that's like 3 nitrogen, and it's just slightly higher. And that will really help these guys to produce more leaves and larger leaves as well, especially if it's getting bright light. Give it that fertilizer and it will love you. It will give you great leaves and they'll be nice and big and full. And then remember to not fertilize during the dormant period. So like your winter, sometimes even your fall, depending on the temperatures. Don't fertilize during those times because then you can actually have too many salts build up in the soil. That's one thing this plant doesn't like. It doesn't like a lot of salts in its soil. So if you give it too much fertilizer, especially when it isn't using it in the fall or the winter, then you could actually be damaging your plant. So make sure that you only use fertilizer during that spring and summer when you're seeing it actually actively growing. And then for a couple extra bonus tips, a few things that I've noticed really makes a difference in Fiddle Leaf Fig care. First is rotating your plant. So I like to, every time I water, I'll turn it another quarter way, and then I'll turn it again the next time I water. And you can see we've got kind of a flat area here. If you can see, it's kind of flatter over here and it's opening up more that way. This is the direction that I had the window last time I watered. And so next I'm gonna turn it over here and then let it start to kind of fill out here, and then I'll turn it again. Anyway, so make sure that you're always rotating your Fiddle Leaf Fig because they tend to grow in the direction of the light more than other plants. Some plants do more than others, and this guy definitely grows towards the light more, and the leaves will kind of look flat on one side if you're not actively rotating it. And then the next thing that I found is being a Fiddle Leaf Fig, like being a ficus from the ficus family, they do drop leaves like anytime they're not happy. So anytime they're not happy, they're like, oh, I'm dropping these leaves. And that can also be when you first bring them home. When you first bring them home, they're like, whoa, this is new. And sometimes, especially in like the car ride home or something, if it's winter time when you buy it, it can go through a little bit of shock, or maybe it's like really hot in the car. Anyways, so it can drop some leaves in new environments, and that is normal. But then if it keeps dropping leaves after that initial drop, if it keeps dropping leaves, then you know that it doesn't like where it's at. So if that happens, then what you need to do is just move it to a different spot. Usually it needs more light or better humidity if it can, but usually more light. A lot of times this guy he likes a lot of light. So if your Fiddle Leaf Fig is dropping leaves and just not looking very good, then just try moving it somewhere else until it finds a happy place, if you will. And once it finds its happy place, it will grow great. And that's why you get these Fiddle Leaf Figs that are like 30 years old and are just huge and gorgeous because they're in that spot and they haven't been moved from that spot for many years, unless it's to go outside in the summer and brought back to that spot, you know? So don't move this plant a lot. Maybe just move it out in the summer and back in. But if it's happy in that location, then try to keep it in that location. Just rotate it, and that's all you need to do. And then the last thing that really helps with Fiddle Leaf Figs is to clean the leaves, because this guy can get a lot of dust on him. Like, I've got a lot. I need to clean his leaves. It's got a lot of dust, and when it gets dust on the leaves, it can actually be bad for photosynthesis, and also it can encourage insects. So if you keep the leaves clean, normally insects like spider mites or mealybugs, they don't like it as much. So make sure that you clean the leaves often. Anytime you see that dust on the leaves, especially since how big they are, they just catch a lot on these leaves. But make sure that you are cleaning it frequently. so that it helps with the plant being healthier and it helps prevent insects. And that is everything you need to know to keep your Fiddle Leaf Fig looking really good and keeping him growing nice and happy, because that's what we like. Because honestly, these aren't the easiest plants to keep alive. They're honestly a little bit picky. So if we find that spot, give it lots of bright light, let it dry out in between watering, we should be good. And then if you have any more issues with your Fiddle Leaf Fig, check out my next video, which is going to be about Fiddle Leaf Fig troubleshooting, knowing what is going on when it is not looking good. And then if you have any more questions, you can go ahead and join the Facebook group, Houseplants for Plant Killers. And then you can follow me on Instagram. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos and you will become a plant expert. See you in the next one.